It's time for some collective wisdom, a podcast advancing the cannabis revolution, one conversation at a time. We all benefit from sharing knowledge and experiences. So if you want to learn about the business of cannabis from those in the trenches, you've come to the right place. Here's your host, Lisa Tollner, co-founder of SensiChew.
Hello and welcome. We are recording today at MJ BizCon in Las Vegas, Nevada, and we have the pleasure of meeting with Naomi Granger, who is co-founder and COO of Dope CFO. Naomi has 12 years of experience in both public accounting and industry accounting as part of the former Big Four accounting corporations. She has managed large global teams responsible for planning, performing, and managing audits of financial statements and internal controls over financial reporting. Important stuff. Naomi recognized a void in the cannabis industry and co-founded Dope CFO in order to provide proper accounting and bookkeeping practices to cannabis businesses. Dope CFO provides educational tools for accountants and financial professionals within the cannabis industry to help untap their professional potential. Her mission is for accountants to fall in love again with accounting by changing the current state of accounting industry practices from being high stress, highly competitive, to a collaborative and rewarding environment for them and their clients' businesses. Naomi has been featured in the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, Cheddar TV, the cover of the Las Vegas Sun, and cover of MJ Biz, January 2019 issue of Women to Watch, and other features as well. So Naomi, welcome to Collective Wisdom.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
You're providing a really important service, even though more seasoned business professionals are getting involved in cannabis now. There's still a lot of legacy cannabis owners from the spectrum of the supply chain who are still in, making a good go of it, but don't come from accounting backgrounds, and they need help. So tell us a little bit about what makes accounting different for the cannabis industry versus another.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the cannabis industry, you have to deal with the IRC 280E, which is a tax code. It is one sentence, but it says if you're trafficking a Schedule 1 or a Schedule 2 controlled substance, you're still required to pay taxes. However, you are not permitted to write off any operating expenses or take any deductions. And so we have these companies that are paying taxes on their top line revenue. So you pay taxes and then you pay your payroll and your rent and all of your operating expenses. And so now they're in the red, they're negative. And in order to maximize your deductions, the only thing you can take is cost of goods sold. And so a lot of these businesses don't understand cost accounting. If you're not an accountant, even some accountants don't understand cost accounting. And so you have to really understand cost accounting. You need to understand accrual accounting, GAAP accounting, absorption accounting. There's a lot of things that are involved in order to get your cost of goods sold number appropriate so that it's maximized and then your taxes are minimized.
So that's a really important component of running a business now is the 280E tax. So
Yes.
Really having an understanding of that and having professional guidance is paramount. Mm-hmm. Now, what is the impact? Obviously, having a trained accountant that you can go to is important, but what kind of peace of mind does that provide?
So these businesses are going to be audited. There is a tsunami of audits that are coming in 2020, 2021, and it doesn't matter if you filed 2016 taxes, 2017 taxes, and you haven't heard anything. The IRS is a couple of years behind, so they can go and audit prior years. So even though you haven't heard from them, doesn't mean that you've done it properly. And so you want a cannabis trained accountant in place to make sure that things are done properly in the past and that going forward that you're doing things properly. That can save you money. That can also save you headache because going through an audit is not fun. A lot of these businesses go through 4, 5, 10 years of litigation when they're being audited. And so you want an accountant in place who has all of your books and records, everything ticked and tied and everything supported so that when those governmental agencies come in to audit you, you can just hand over a folder and everything that they need is in that folder, and it'll be a lot easier. You also need an accountant who understands how to help through that process. And not only going to be audited by governmental agencies, but the banks are auditing these companies, OSHA, FDA. There's a bunch of agencies that are auditing these companies, so you just want to make that process a lot easier.
Now, what steps can a cannabis company take to be ahead of the game? Obviously, hiring a professional is there, but what are some things, some tips that you can give to a cannabis business owner that will help them stay out of harm's way and also maximize their tax deductions?
In order to maximize your tax deductions, there's a couple of things that you can do. First, you need a cannabis-trained accountant who understands cost accounting. And then you can also do non-canna divisions. And so some businesses might have a T-shirt shop or CBD line or something like that. But if it's a legal business, the part of your business that's related to that, you can write off your operating expenses because it's legal. However, that business needs to be substantial and it needs to be able to stand alone. So you can't have a $10 million cannabis business and then a $10,000 T-shirt business and then try to write off all of your operating expenses against that T-shirt business, because that's not substantial. And if the cannabis business were to go away, that wouldn't stand on its own. And so something like a CBD or hemp line, if it's a legal CBD line, then that can be substantiated and you can write off some of your business expenses through that legal business.
Wow, that's a really good tip, because more and more companies now with the hemp farm bill, and because of the extreme regulatory and compliance costs, they're now saying, look, I can have a parallel business selling hemp products, same formulation. Now it's just not THC or cannabis-derived CBD, but it's CBD from hemp. Now I can channel those products to the mass market and share some of those costs. So very important tip. Tell us a little bit about how you help companies with their management. Obviously, there's things that you're doing. You want to get a professional in there who knows what they're doing. But is there sort of a general sort of training that you go through with your clients to get them going?
Yeah, so what we do as a business is we train accountants how to do proper accounting for these companies. In training these accountants, we show them how to onboard clients. And so we give them the files, we help them understand what your chart of account should look like, how to set up we call it a perpetual data room, but it's just your file management system where you have all of the supporting documents and work papers that you need in case there's an audit. Or even if there's not an audit, if you have an investor coming in who wants to look at these numbers, you have it all prepared and ready. So we show them how to onboard that client, how to train your people. So you might have a person in-house who's just managing the invoices or doing the deposits. That person needs to be trained so they understand how those invoices should be entered and coded into your accounting system so that it's properly allocated. Because if it falls under a cost of goods sold, you want to make sure that's flagged so that your accountant can properly allocate that to cost of goods sold. And if it's something that's not related to the plant and it's more administrative, then that also needs to be flagged so that there's no mistakes. We teach our students how to properly onboard a client so that that client understands what they need to give that accountant to do their job.
Have you had any clients audited yet?
I have not personally had any audited. I've had clients who they have been audited prior to becoming my client, and they've went through some of the recent court cases. So I have that experience. I've spoken to some of the people who have ended up in prison because of some of the different recent court cases. So yeah, I've had exposure to it, but my clients have not been audited.
All the more reason they would appreciate you even more, Naomi, right? You keep them out of harm's way, both financially and legally, which is essential in this business. So I understand that you have some special announcements I'd love for you to share with our listeners about Dope CFO, and also let listeners know how to get in touch with you and your company.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you are an accountant or you're looking for an accountant, you can just go to dopecfo.com. We have a guide that you can download. So you would just text the code Dope CFO, all caps, no spaces, to 33777. And we'll make sure that we include this in the show notes so that you guys can get access to it. But if you want a quick download, you can just text us or just go to our website.
Well, Naomi, thank you so much for your time today. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you.
We've been speaking with Naomi Granger, co-founder and COO of Dope CFO. This is your host, Lisa Tollner. Thank you for listening.
That's this week's episode of the Collective Wisdom Podcast. Join us each week for another episode on OC Talk Radio, streaming on Thursdays at 3 p.m., and you can download Collective Wisdom wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to visit cacollectivewisdom.com or email us at collectivewisdompodcast@gmail.com to join the conversation. Thank you for listening.